Hello, hello everyone. My name is Daksh. I'm registered migration agent working with 𝐬𝐧𝐼 Group in Canberra, and here with me, director and registered migration agent from 𝐬𝐧𝐼 Group Hawthorne. His name is Path, and we are back on live like every Friday for your answering your queries, sharing latest updates, and what has happened within last 1 week. So we will wait for a few more attendees. In meantime, we can start with updates and what's been new in migration within last 1 week. So Parth, do you want to take on, like, you have anything which is you want to cover to start with?
Yeah, sure. Hello, everyone. As Dux introduced, my name is Parth, and I'm one of the migration agent here at 𝐬𝐧𝐼 Group. To start with the updates, yesterday, the Department of Home Affairs have updated on their website, Skill Select website, mentioning how many seats were utilized by the state governments until 30th of April. So as per that, we have noticed that Victoria is the first state which has consumed most of their quota allocation for this financial year. So they are on the verge of finishing the quota. After that, we have noticed Northern Territory, which has consumed most of the quota for 190. They still have some seats available for 491. But basically, what I can see is New South Wales is the state government which has used the least seats until now. So we are still hopeful, as we were discussing in the previous live sessions, that we are hopeful that New South Wales should and hopefully will conduct more invitation rounds, or probably will be conducting invitation rounds where they will be inviting more people. Um, Otherwise, for other states like Canberra, they have been inviting people. They have been doing bigger invitation rounds now. Daksh will be able to provide some more information on that. New South Wales, we are still hoping for bigger rounds. Northern Territory, they have already closed their program. They are only open for people who have already applied for state nomination, or people whose visa is expiring, or if they are losing their eligibility before 1st of July. For those people, they are still eligible to apply to Northern Territory state government, but most likely it's 491 that they may be able to offer, because 190 seats are pretty much taken. For Queensland, they still have some allocation left, but they don't have that many seats allocated for this financial year. So I think their program will be again working at very minimum level. South Australia, they still have good number of places available for both 190 and 491. So 491, we are hoping that they should be inviting more people. If your visa is expiring soon, we strongly recommend applying for 491 because they have still much higher number of allocation left for 491 state nomination compared to 190. Apart from that, Tasmania, they also have a good allocation left for 190. Their 491 allocation is close to full. And apart from that, Western Australia, they still have good number of seats left, but they have so many applications pending to be finalized. So I think Western Australian state government will not conduct any more invitation rounds. Yesterday, there was an invitation round conducted by Western Australian state government. It was not so big, but still, I think they have invited good number of applicants under graduate stream and also under the Schedule 2 stream. However, we have not seen any invites for Schedule 1 occupational list, so mainly the health occupations. Daksh, you would like to talk some more about Canberra state nomination for this year?
Yes, Canberra's being quite consistent as usual. Canberra's always been a state which plans their quota better and then divide it into the equal parts. Usually, the start of the financial year, July, August, September rounds goes bit smaller because they want to see how the trend is going. So they usually utilize the smaller quota in those rounds, and up until the migration program settles around December time, they start inviting in big numbers. So that's what they did for this financial year as well. On the website, plus after every invitation round, Canberra updates on how many seats they have utilized for this particular round and what's the left quota. So up until the latest round happened on 23rd of April, and on 24th they updated that they still have around 300 seats left for 190 and 130 odd seats for 491. However, the next round is going to happen before 30th of May. In my opinion, that's going to be the last invitation round for this financial year. But it's not going to be that big, because that what number of seats they said they have left on 24th of April, they still will utilize quota out of it for the nomination approval, because that number is nomination approved and remaining nomination places, not the invitation. So many of my clients here in Canberra gets a bit of wrong idea when they see that they have got 300 seats for 190 and 136 for 491. They presume that it's gonna be that many seats for the next round. But before the next round, whatever nominations they'll approve which are invited for this round, those people will utilize those seats as well. So relatively this round will be a smaller one, but Canberra's been pretty consistent since January, and points remain steady, didn't come down as much we expected, but remain steady, a bit higher than usual because of the lesser quota.
Good to know that. Apart from that, we have noticed communication from department, where the department stated that the processing time for employer-sponsored visas, especially the training visas and 482, has been increased. That's mainly due to much higher number of applications being lodged recently, since new financial year that started on 1st of July. That's mainly also due to the change made by the department, where if you're holding a visitor visa or a 485 visa, the applicants are not eligible to apply for a student visa. And that's where the applicants have taken some other ways, which is mainly the 407 training visa and also the employer sponsored visas under 482 category. So the department have noticed that so many applications have been lost, and that's why the processing time has increased. Otherwise, the department was saying that the processing time should take approximately around a month of time, which is now more than 3-4 months of time as well for some applications. In employer-sponsored visas, some applications are given priority where their occupation is in high shortage, or if your position is based in regional areas. So those applications still get prioritized. However, other applications are taking longer. On top of that, we also noticed that there is a surge in the refusals for such visas, 407 and also 482 visas, where department is refusing on the grounds that the applicant is not having a genuine position in the business, or probably because the applicant does not have the relevant skill set to perform the duties, or on a training visas, they've refused applications stating you are highly qualified for this visa. So basically, we have seen the government is refusing more applications than earlier under such category, mainly because it feels to them that the applicants are taking this as a pathway to extend their stay in Australia. That's other update. Apart from that, for employer sponsored visa, otherwise the program is working well for people whose occupation is on a higher skill level, which is skill level 1. Those applications are getting assessed positively. That's what we have noticed. However, it still depends whether your position is still genuine in nature in the business. Apart from that, the 𝐸𝐳 requirement is increasing from 73,150 to around $76,000 from 1st of July. So if you are planning to apply for employer-sponsored visa, and if your salary is, or if your employer is going to offer a salary which is below that new 𝐸𝐳 requirement, then we strongly recommend to apply before the change happens, because the criteria states that as long as you apply for the application before 1st of July, then the old salary requirement will apply, even though your application get processed after 1st of July or on 1st of July. So that was the quick update about recent programs, mainly the skilled migration program, which is employer sponsored visa, and also the general skilled migration. Let's see. Yeah.
To give you idea, Parth, what you were talking about, that 482 and 407, we have seen a bit of higher number of refusal than before, because of that not position not being genuine, or not meeting the 407 not meeting the requirement for the skills, and they are saying they are highly skilled. If we have time, so I'll add a couple of examples here as well. So what I have seen during the consultations as well, because one of the such 482, because larger number of chefs and cooks are going for recently 482 as well, when they are meeting all the requirements, but when it comes to the nomination from the employer side or for the 482 visa, sometimes what happens is applicants thinks that, okay, I'm working genuinely with the employer and I've been working in this position for a year or two, so I'll lodge 482 and it will work out for me. But usually sometimes what happens and people tend to forget is you still have to explain that position is genuine and there's a requirement within the business, because I've seen such a refusal today itself in one of the consultations, where the client was working as a chef within the same business for more than 1.5 years, but at the nomination they didn't put up a prop entire menu. They didn't explain that how many wait staff is there, or there are kitchen hands in the in the kitchen as well. So case officer emphasized that what if there are no wait staff and the menu doesn't look the complicated enough, because they just submitted first 2 pages of soups and burgers. So case officer thought it's not a full-fledged restaurant, and there is such as no need of chef being there for the full time, and they refused the nomination. So when you are working and genuinely lodging the 482 as well, keep in mind that you still have to explain the entire business and why there is a need of this position within the business while lodging, because surging number of 482s definitely make departments scrutinize more. But if you are ready with proper documentation, things should work out for the applicants.
Correct. So mainly, when we notice the refusals, mainly it's about either you are having higher skills for 407 visa, or you have a lesser skills, or there is a no genuine position available in the businesses. That's also for mainly the hospitality occupations. That's what we have noticed, as you were saying. We got some questions. First question is from Nitesh. He's asking about 482 visa. For a 482 visa, can two people be sponsored from a same company under the same occupation? Will that affect the application in any way?
Oh, sorry, I phased out. I can you repeat the question?
So, yeah, so basically, Nitesh would like to know if the company is willing to sponsor two-person at the same time under the same occupation. Is it fine, or there will be any complexity with the application?
There is no such guideline that, okay, only this many candidates can be sponsored, unless the caveats we are talking. But let's say I'll answer this question with an example, that if there is a restaurant, a big restaurant serving like 250 to 200 people at a one time, let's say for lunch and dinner, and they have complicated menu and a big kitchen and doing very good in terms of revenue, they could have in kitchen like two chefs and four cooks, and because of the time as well, restaurant opening hours could be, let's say in a week 150 hours restaurant might be operating, and then chefs are available 38 or 40 hours a week. So they can certainly sponsor two chefs, and they can do it as long as business genuine requires two chefs, and they can provide all the explanations that business is big, they are running on a vast like their time operating time is very long, and they need two chefs to perform those skills. So there's no limitation as long as you can explain the genuine need of two chefs within the same business.
Yeah, correct.
Or it goes for any
Any
occupation. Chef I
occupation.
just use for the
Example, yeah,
example.
correct. Yeah, so basically it's all about proving that your business has need of that many people. As long as you can prove that, it is totally fine. It's very possible for any business to have multiple people working under the same occupation, for any occupation, for any company as such. So it's all about proving that there's a genuine need of such positions. Just continuing with your question, you also mentioned that you have yourself applied for 407 visa, currently on a bridging visa, and you would also like to apply for a 482 visa. Whether it's possible to apply for both at the same time, and also it's possible to have grant for both visas, and what happens in such scenario. So basically you can apply for 482 visa while holding a bridging visa A, or also B and C. So as you are holding a bridging visa A, you are eligible to apply for a 482 visa. If your 482 visa gets granted first, And then 407 visa, the 407 visa will replace your first visa, which is 482. If it is your 407 visa gets granted first, and then after 482 visa, then it will replace the 407. If one or both visa get refused, then accordingly you will have the other visa if one got refused. But if both get refused, you will have to decide which application you feel has more chances, more grounds of winning the case. Accordingly, you can apply also to ART for reviewing that application. I hope that answers your question. Amin
Uh,
is asking, when will 189 invitation round happen before closing this financial year program? What are the benefits of for immigrants from Labour government?
Uh, Amin and I think Gavi underneath asking the same question, that any chances of 189 round. Last couple of invitation rounds for 189, I believe MIA and department flagged the round. That round's gonna happen sometime before the rounds actually happened. But this time around, don't see any such news up until now. So I see, in my opinion, it's very highly unlikely that before this financial year ends there would be a round. But if it happens, it's good for the applicants who are waiting for a long time and for to get invited in the 189 round. Talking about labor governments, I would refrain commenting on that at the moment. We'll see once the new financial year starts. Migration policies would be much more clear on next 1 year or 2 years time frame. But all in all, it looks like it would go steady as last few years have went. They won't take any drastic measurements or changes which will affect drastically to the migrants. But yeah, will picture would be much more clear around July. What's your take on that part?
Correct. We cannot honestly exactly comment on that, but then as government has been the same, and their program immigration strategies were also very same, and it will most likely will align with the previous financial years as well. So that way, I'm very hopeful that the program will be very similar to the previous financial years. About 189 invitation round happening again, we don't know anything as such, but then I doubt that it will be happening, mainly because first thing is we have seen this year the government have invited so many people under 189 visa, and that's where the seats allocated for 189 visa program, I think it's already taken or it's very close to the deadline basically. However, that doesn't mean that they cannot conduct invitation round, because invitation round, if they are conducting, those people's visa could be granted in the next financial year as well. So there is no quota for the invitations to happen. Like for state governments, when they are inviting people, they have been given a quota that how many people you can sponsor in that financial year. But for 189 program, there is no limit on how many people they would like to invite, because if they are inviting you, you are eligible to apply for the visa, and your visa could be finalized in even in the next financial year, because they have a quota for how many visas they can grant, but how many invites, there is no quota as such. So still there is a possibility that they can conduct invitation round that way if we think. Also, we have seen earlier that 189 visa processing time was very quick, but recently we have seen not many 189 applications are finalized. So that could possibly mean that they have already close to the deadline of the quota, whatever seats they have allocated for 189 program. It's very close to that completion of that allocation. That could be the reason. Today only I received one email from department about 189, where they stated that they have started processing that application, but then they have not taken decision. It happens that department sends such emails either to notify you that if you would like to submit anything which is missing, you submit it, or that could also because that they are willing to finalize your application to make sure that everything is ready, but they will not actually finalize the visa outcome as such, but just they will make it decision ready, so that when the new financial year starts, when they have a new quota, they will start finalizing the application. So just hints, I'm just based on that I'm saying, but again, there is no nothing to say in particular that okay, no, they will not,
Concrete,
or
yeah.
they will.
They will, yeah, yeah. There's nothing concrete in terms of 189 round. Yes, many applicants are waiting for it, but let's hope for the best if it happens. Otherwise, yeah, we can wait for the next financial year. Um, Another thing, Parth, in terms of being like lots of candidates, when especially this period comes where financial year is nearly done, nothing much is happening state wise as well in terms of nominations or invitations. Usually applicants gets bit lazy, or I would say slower. They think, okay, there's nothing going on, so I'll wait for the next financial year. In that, I usually advise that, okay, you shouldn't be doing this. You can get the skills assessment done, that extra 5 points for nati or pt. If you are at a proficient score, then you can retake for the superior score. But some applicants gets a bit demotivated and says that, okay, what's the point, what we don't know what's next financial year is gonna be like. But usually points doesn't, like, if you have points with you, higher points, it never disappoints, isn't it? What's your take on it?
Correct. Look, generally for the points, it certainly helps under 189 visa program because that is purely on the basis of the points that they conduct invitation round. Yes, there is occupation, which is another thing which also matters when 189 invitation round happens, because in some of the invitation rounds, we noticed that the department invited applicants only under certain occupations, but otherwise there were rounds where they invited people under other occupations where points is very important thing which actually helps you to drive and get you an invite. So basically points will certainly help in there. When we look at the state nomination program, good number of states still focus on higher number of points, so it is still going to help you. I mean, there are some states, probably if we look at Victoria for an example, if you look at Tasmanian state government, Northern Territory, they don't look at your points, but they still look at some other factors. In that factors, if you have a superior English, you still get priority, so some aspects, some factors you still have to work on. Those factors are now anyway valid for 3-5 years of time, like NAT is valid for 5 years, PT is valid for 3 years of time. Same with your partner skills. If you have a partner, your partner skills assessment will be valid for unlimited period of time, so that's fine. You should better get your partner skills assessed. Your partner's PT, IELTS, whatever it is, will expire after 3 years of time. Nowadays it's like pretty much you have 2 or 3 years of time on your 485 visa. So basically, by the time your visa expires, your English and your NATI will still remain valid by that time. So it's better that if you haven't done that, you should be ready with that, so that as soon as the program reopens, you should apply at that time. Now, applying early also helps because the government look at date of application. So earlier the date of effect, you get higher priority when people are waiting with the same skills. So that is one of the benefit. Second benefit is when we apply to the state government as well. Initially, when you apply, you are eligible for all the invitation rounds in the same financial year. But if you apply after 3-4 months, whatever invitation rounds they already completed, you are not eligible for those rounds because you did not apply. So it's better that earlier is better. It's like so many people actually ask us that what is the right time to apply for permanent residency? Should we wait for the new financial year or should we apply now? So it's always now is the right time to apply for permanent residency. Now means whenever you are eligible for the process as such. So my take is, if you have time to work on things, or if you don't have time to work on things, but that is your primary goal that you would like to settle in Australia, then you should start working on that as soon as possible. And this time you should use it wisely that way.
Um, Luciana's asking, are they going to change the point system the next financial year?
So basically, Labour government by themselves mentioned earlier that they would like to change the point system, and at that time they have given indication of 2026. So at that time it was going. I mean, it was very like, you can say that the government was very focusing on that. So many news going on that okay, yes, government is going to change the point system. They also provided a draft response of how they are planning things. But then after that, I think it's been few months that the department have not talked anything about that. So that way, I don't think so. Also because the policies have recently changed in terms like election, the government was busy in that. So I think that way the chances of happening that probably will be lesser. If they are already ready with the draft, then they may then it's just about implementing that, so they may do that way. But a new point system, I think it's very similar to the previous, I mean, old point system. It's just with a few of the factors that they are making some changes. It may help you depending on how they are going to make it. It may also disadvantage some of the applicants, but then again, we don't know exactly because there is no indication given by any of the authority that if they are planning to do any changes as such. So can't comment on that for now.
Thank you, Path. And I'll take the next question, which says Sandamli. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. Saying, I'm completing 3 years of work experience after 3 months of expiring my 485 visa. My employer happy to sponsor me. Can I apply 186 direct entry PR with 2 years of and 8 months of experience? Unfortunately, no, Sandamali. You need 3 years of work experience full time in your nominated occupation or equivalent part time work experience after the relevant qualification to apply for 186 visa. So, in the direct entry. So, if you are not completing that, then you may need to find some alternate options to complete that, or you can apply for 482 and later on 186. But without that, you may not be able to, because department doesn't give any flexibility in terms of requirement of the work experience.
Yes, but in that, basically, you will have to extend that 3 months of time or 4 months of time until you complete that 3 years experience. So basically, you may apply for a 482 visa. I mean, ask your employer to sponsor you for 482 visa for time being. Once
Yeah,
you meet 3 years experience requirement, then you can go for 186 visa.
186. Yeah. Hariharan saying, can I get PR points working in regional for last 2 years, but not in my skill? Hariharan, very good question. I'll give you an example. Canberra is the only state, to be honest, where you can do something like this, which is not many people are aware about. It's not about 2 years of work experience either or working in regional, but I'll to give you an example. In anywhere else it's not possible, because everywhere else it's not no matter whether you are working in city area or regional area, your work experience points remains the same as long as you are working in your nominated occupation. But Canberra follows a different sort of point system called Canberra matrix, and in the matrix there are different category of points you can claim. So even if you have, let's say, I'll give you an example, even if you are a mechanical engineer and you have assessment as a mechanical engineer and you did bachelor's of mechanical engineering degree in India, based on which you got the skills assessment, and then you came here living in Canberra, studied master's MBA, let's say, in marketing, and you are working as a marketing specialist, which is not your occupation, however it's still a skilled occupation which is on Canberra's occupation list. So you can claim 10 points for working as a marketing specialist for 3 months. So if you are working as a mechanical engineer in the matrix, you can claim 20 points because it's your nominated occupation. But if you are working as a marketing specialist, you can claim 10 points working in a skilled occupation. So matrix works in a very funny way, but yes, there is a way to claim points for the work experience even if it's not your nominated occupation.
And that only applies to ACT state government.
ACT state government, ACT state nomination 190 and 491. That's pretty much it. Nowhere else this sort of flexibility is there. So if you have a skilled job, you can explore, but not in your nominated occupation, you can explore Canberra for that. And the next question Hariharan's asking, can I claim 10 points for being single if I'm separated? What proof I need to show? Can you take this path?
Yeah, sure. And just before that as well, about that 5 points, you are asking for 2 years of regional work experience. Basically, you don't get points for working in regional area, but yes, if you study for 2 years in regional area and stay in regional area for 2 years of time during that study, then yes, you can get that 5 points. So if you are looking at that 5 points, then you have option to go and study for 2 years in regional area as well. If you're planning to study in city, it's better to study in regional that way. About claiming 10 points being single, if you prove that yes, you are separated, you don't have any contacts with your partner, then yes, you can claim 10 points for that. But basically, you will have to now about asking about proving that how can you prove that you are separated. So basically, you have to provide a statutory declaration explaining you are separated and then you don't have any contact with your partner. If you have a contact with your partner but you are not in a relationship, you can also ask your partner to provide a declaration saying that you are permanently separated and not have any plans to be in relationship again. So that is what you can use. On top of that, you can also probably provide declarations from your friends, family members who are aware of your relationship. They can also provide declarations as such. But basically, there is no kind of official documents to prove you are separated. But then you can also provide documents to prove who is living with you, or you can, when you are declaring your own declaration, you mention that I'm living here. And then to what I know, last time when I communicated, my partner is back home for an example. So that's why we are not together. If you have a visa, your partner does not have a visa, that is another way you can also prove that, okay, you don't have a relationship with your partner for now and we are not living together as such. So something like this, that is what options you can think of. You may also, if you would like to go to that extent, you may also provide your call history, like your bills, to prove that, okay, you are not talking to your partner. But then basically most of the time we just provide the declarations, and that usually suffice, because even if you provide call history and you are saying my partner's phone number is this, you could be dialing through someone else, so that is something tricky to prove basically. But basically, if you provide your own declaration and proving in a way, writing down that, okay, having a statutory declaration that I have never been in contact since last 2 years or 1 year of time, whatever it is, accordingly you can prove to the department.
Thank you, Parth. And then there's the next question, Jen Jack. Jen Jack saying, I have applied for my EOI for 491 to all the states last September. The skills assessment is HR advisor, 95 points. And points breakdown is given. My question is, HR advisors are getting EOI response recently, like applicants of HR advisor getting last few months. See, Jen, I am most likely looking at your comment. I feel like you are applying from overseas, but no matter if you are applying from overseas or within Australia, firstly, the application should have been done right. So let's say if you are in Australia, most of the states at the moment, the thumb rule is not applicable all the time, but most of the states are only taking applications from the applicant living and working in that particular state, and that too not just based on EOI. With the state nomination, you have to always keep in mind whether it's 190 or 491, not just EOI is going to get you invited. Some states has additional requirements as well, like Victoria. With EOI, you have to lodge an ROI, registration of interest, with their state department. With ACT, rather than EOI, you have to lodge for the Canberra matrix. Same thing goes with the South Australia. They have their own portal and ROI system. So first, if you are, yes, all occupation, and depending on where occupation is eligible and what are the priorities, they can get invited depending on meeting the criteria. But for that, the application has to be done right with the states as well, because just lodging an EOI sometimes won't even get you invited, because that's not the right approach to do it. Danushka's asking, are they going to change the point system? Danushka, Parth just covered this like 10 minutes ago. So if you, after this live session ends, you can go back to it. Parth has explained it in very detail what's going to happen. Yeah, Jen Jack is saying that yes, EOI is done from India. Yes, Jen. Then in that case, again, in under offshore stream as well, you have to make sure you are doing right sorts of application, and then you can consider. But this year, offshore stream invitation has been bit lesser. Onshore, because of all the states didn't get very much, like quota was reduced by 70 80 75 to 70% in compared to normal. So states preferred applicants onshore more than overseas because of cater applicants who are already here. So in that case, you might not have gotten an invite, but you still need to focus on whether you have done all the right applications with the state departments as well.
Just to add on that, I just quickly checked and I can see that Canberra state government and I mean ACT state government and also Northern Territory have invited applicants under 491 category. Just to add one more thing, that is this occupation is only eligible for 491 state nomination, and for 491 state nomination it's like you have to take a sponsorship from the state no matter what. And that's why, as he was saying, that for different state they have a different criteria, that most of the state they expect that you are in Australia living in their state and things like that, but as because you are living offshore, so it doesn't, I mean, you don't have to meet that criteria because there is no possibility you will be staying in that state. But then on top of that also they have some additional criteria that you must be having 2 years of experience or 3 years of experience and things like that. As you are saying, you have 95, I think, points you mentioned.
Yeah.
So that means that you should have good years of experience and you should have good English score as well. So looking at that, I think you qualify for state nomination for both, I think, Canberra and also for Northern Territory state government. You should apply to those if you haven't. I just tried downloading the cutoff for Canberra, but I could not download the PDF file. But I think if you can check on probably your computer, you'll have some, I mean, we can some
I can check, but part this year, last few rounds especially, there wasn't, apart from critical occupation, nothing went overseas for Canberra. It's always NANA, so they didn't invite much of the candidates. Usually uh, Canberra is pretty good in terms of inviting offshore candidates as well in last a year before that, but this year, apart from non-critical occupation, they didn't invite under the non-critical occupations. But yes, if matrix points are good, next year they can easily get invite, because they usually HR advisor is a bit popular occupation when it comes to Canberra matrix. Double two. Yeah, they I checked already. So they only invited once for the Canberra matrix for that this entire financial year for offshore, but nothing went for offshore candidates, unfortunately, this financial year.
Hmm. Yeah, so basically what I was checking was that someone got invited, but I cannot honestly check whether that was onshore or offshore. Yes, so as Daksh is saying, that is pretty much right as per, because generally Canberra also publish on their website whether they have invited offshore or onshore candidates. I was checking on some different portal, but then basically as per that portal, some people were invited on the phone and on, but that could be onshore or offshore applicants. So I mean, I cannot exactly tell you whether offshore applicants were invited. And this year, the program was very tricky in terms, most of the states have prioritized people who are onshore first, you know. So, but then, yes, New Year target, as of now, anyway, we are on the stage where most of the state governments have utilized good amount of their quota. So most likely to be the next year that you will have to target.
Parth Ravi Teja is asking 85 points for 190 NSW ECT, working as a ECT. What are his chances?
Yeah, chances are very good. It's just that you will have to wait for New South Wales to conduct invitation round. Otherwise, points are good and the occupation is also good. They have been giving priority as well. So just matter of invitation round to happen. They still have good amount of seats left, and I haven't seen they have invited so many people in the recent invitation rounds as well. So only one thing which we are not certain is whether they are going to utilize the full quota given to the state government. Usually, most of the state governments, they try to use the quota because it's not something which will be given to the next financial year as well, given in the next financial year as well. So basically, that's why they try and use it. We were earlier saying that probably if government is changing, that could be the reason. Changing in means that because of election is also the state government might not be conducting invitation rounds, but now the election result is also out. So probably they may conduct invitation round anytime soon now. But yes, the chances are good for this occupation, irrespective of the state. For now, you are in New South Wales. Also for 189, if in case whenever it happens, your chances are much higher because not so many people have 80 points under this occupation. I mean, the cutoff for 189 was somewhere around 70 points in the previous invitation rounds, you know. So that's why you are hopeful in both 189, 190.
Thank you. Um, Danushka saying, are there any chances for chefs in W under the graduate stream? 85 points and 491 stream he's looking at. So, what's your take on to that? Earlier, I think you were talking about W around recent one. I think yesterday it happened, not a very big one. So, what's your take on that W stream?
Yeah, so Western Australian state government, they are saying that they are prioritizing hospitality occupations. So that way your occupation is a priority, which is very good. Not so many occupations are under priority, mainly the construction, teaching, hospitality occupations and health occupations are their priority. So that way it is good for you. One thing. Secondly, we have also seen in the invitation rounds, they have been inviting chefs and also cooks. So that way also the possibility is good. About the recent invitation round, let me see if they have invited any cooks, chefs. Yeah, I can't see any invitations given for chefs and cooks for the yesterday's invitation round. But then the previous round, I think they invited applicants with somewhere around, I think, 85 or 90 points. So the chances are good. I strongly recommend you to continue staying in Western Australia. If there's a possibility for you to increase your points in any way, then you should work on that.
Mm, okay, all right. I was just trying to find it as well, but yeah. Hariharan saying that I have a skills assessment based on CDR through Engineers Australia. Studies completed in 2022. After that, 1 year of work experience in my nominated occupation. For 1 year in Australia, I have submitted an EOI2. Is it mandatory to get work assessment done by Engineers Australia just in case if I get invite and accept it? Hariharan, see, there is no mandatory requirement by Department of Home Affairs that you need to get your employment assessment done as well. They usually ask that you need to have the skills assessment, and with that, if you have worked in nominated occupation for 1 year in Australia, you can claim 5 points. However, usually, like what we recommend is that if you have means for it, then certainly go for the work experience assessment done as well, because the department strongly takes the advice from the department, and if anything goes wrong, you can most certainly show the department as well that you have got the work experience assessment done as well from the relevant authority. But however, it's not mandatory, as long as you can produce all the documents like work reference letter, pay slips, bank statement, and things like that. You don't really have to get the assessment done of your work from Engineers Australia.
And just I also wanted to add on that, where basically for Engineers Australia, they are very strict with the employment assessment, where they specifically ask for taxation documents or also superannuation or equivalent like provident fund documentation. So they basically says that one of these document is a must for you to get your employment assessed. So if you don't have any document like this, then they says that you can they will not assess your experience, but you may directly claim with the department. So basically for Engineers Australia, they have limitations on verifying your employment, but then department have more access. And that's why if you don't have sufficient documents to meet the criteria of Engineers Australia for employment assessment, you can directly claim it to the Department of Home Affairs.
Thank you, Parth. I don't see any. Do you see any more comments? And at this stage, I think that was the last one. We'll wait for a few more comments or questions. In meantime, yes, fresh batch of graduates going to be out soon. So let's discuss a bit of 485 visa, because there are lots and lots of changes over last 1 year, and some applicants usually at the moment I'm seeing as well, because they talk to friends, they think that okay, it's a very pretty simple visa and we'll do it, I'll talk to my friends and I'll figure it out. But make sure, what my advice is that make, and what I always tell in my consultations as well to the clients, that talking to friends is one thing, and going onto the website or at street search pro, getting the information from the credible sources or from the Department of Home Affairs by themselves is the thing you should be doing. Because let's say, just to give you an example, one of the client came like 3 months ago during the March sort of graduation round. So that client was saying that my visa is expiring on 15th of March, and I'm applying 485 visa, and I have done PT in 2021 or 2022 something, and then I will use that to apply for my 485 visa because one of my friend told me to do so. But by that time, requirement was already changed, because earlier the department used to accept 6 each equivalent score in any other test as well, done within last 3 years for the 485 visa. So 6 each, no less than 5 each in IELTS or equivalent. But last year they changed the requirement to that for 485 visa, the PT test should have been, or IELTS test should have been done within last 1 year only, and the requirement is 6.5 overall, no less than 5.5 in IELTS or equivalent in any other test. So if they would have used the old result, they most certainly would have got the refusal on their 485 visa, and refusal on 485 visa hurts a lot, because in that case you are staking everything, your 2 years of studies or 3 years of studies, your money invested, and you cannot move forward from there, or it becomes very hard to move forward. So make sure whatever you are doing, you are aware about a recent trend, or go and see someone who's qualified to advise you based on this, rather than risking your 485 visa and your entire future in Australia just based on advice.
Yes, we got some questions
Question as well.
from Hariharan. He's asking, my friend is Canadian citizen, wants to migrate to Australia, any visa option? Look, basically we'll have to see his or her qualification and also employment history. Basically, mainly based on these two skill set, we decide what are the occupations that person can qualify for and what are the chances for such occupations. So basically, based on that, we can advise you. So we recommend you to either send us an email with a resume, or you can book an appointment, or you can ask them to book an appointment with us, and then we can guide them with their pathways. Aman is asking, can you please tell me how 190 allocations, how many 190 allocations left in New South Wales? So I just opened that file, just a second. So for New South Wales, they have consumed around 1900 applications or seats under 190 program. They have total of 3000 places for this financial year, and for 491 they have used around 1150 seats for now out of 2000 seats they have been allocated. So still around like 40-50% allocation, 30-50% allocation is still left, and it's just like this is already May, so it's just 1-2 months of time is left. Gurchetan is asking, I want to ask which state is good for enrolled nurses. I have 1 year of experience. Sorry, I want to ask which state is good for enrolled nurse, has 1 year of experience for PA, Tasmania or Western Australia. Yes, Daksh.
See, 1 year of experience firstly depends on where's your 1 year of experience, because see, lot of the states at this stage are not very keen about what you have done in the past. Their specific requirements in that particular state is there as well. However, with the Western Australia, yes, I think enroll nurse falls under Schedule 1, where you require 1 year of work experience, but at the end of the day, you still they are giving priority whoever's living and working in that particular state as well. So in that case, if you move to Western Australia and find a job, you will have the better opportunity. And Tasmania, again, same thing, that even if you have work experience, their requirement is for first you to go live and work there, and then they would consider you for the invitation, either 190 or 491, depending on what type of employment you find, full-time or part-time. So you have to, 1 year of work experience is good, but any of the state nomination you are looking for, you have to first find a job, go and live in that particular state, and in that way enroll nurse is, in my opinion, good for both of the state, as long as you can find employment.
Um, So yeah, just again in continuation with that, Western Australia, they don't ask you to be living and working there for a longer period of
Yeah,
time.
but
So if you just relocate, you can apply straight away. And they have been inviting enrolled nurses in priority under Schedule 1 occupation list, where they ask for 1 year of experience. Not so many people under this occupation enrolled nurse have 1 year of experience, mainly because by the time they get 1 year experience, most of the time they are selected, so the chances are good. There in Tasmania, it's like you'll have to wait for 3 months or 6 months of time, depending on you would like to take 491 or 190. So basically, you'll have to wait in Tasmania. However, if you look the other way, that what is the situation after 3 months or 6 months of time, in Tasmania, if you work there for 3 months, it's like high chances. It's not high chances. It's pretty much that they are going to sponsor you for this
yes.
program, because not so many people go and work there for 3 months or 6 months. However, in Western, so basically both states are good, as he mentioned, but sometimes it could be like Western Australia is preferred for you because if you have higher points, because they invite people based on the points. If you have higher points, then Western Australia is better. If you have lesser points, then you might have to wait longer in Western Australia. For people having higher points will be invited first, so you might have to wait longer. But in Tasmania, it's like 3 months if you have waited, 491, 6 months if you have waited, then 190. So depending on your own situation, whether you have good amount of point score. So you check how many points, with how many points Western Australian state government have invited enrolled nurses in recent times. Based on that, you may decide. Hossein is asking, I'm little confused. I want to apply for 887 visa. And one of the requirement is 1 year full-time experience, 52 weeks with 35 hours per week. If I do 52 weeks with 30 hours per week, can I still apply?
I need to check. Can you? I don't remember on top of my head part whether they qualify with 30 hours, but if you remember, can you check, or I can have a
Yeah,
look as
sure.
well?
So look, basically for 887 visa, the requirement is the applicant must have worked full time. For full time for this visa, basically they say 35 hours per week is considered full time. However, as per the policy department says, if you have worked more than 30 hours per week, it is still should be considered for this visa program. However, one of the important factors is also that it also depends on your industry standard. If your business have some enterprise agreement, for example, where 30 hours is considered full time, then there will not be any problem as such. If there is no enterprise agreement, then the standard requirement is 35 hours per week. But we have dealt with cases where people who have worked even 30 hours per week were granted 887 visa, because policy states if you have worked 30 hours or more, then usually they will be considering that. However, it is not a regulation as such, because as per regulation, it's 35 hours per week, but then it should be fine. That is what I can think of. Because I've dealt myself such cases where people who have worked 30 hours per week, we have accepted, I mean, accepted their pay slips from in the perspective that it's full time, and made a submission, and then their applications were granted as such. So it should be fine. But if there is an enterprise agreement in place where it says that 30 hours is full time, because there are some companies where if you work, it's like in some remote areas, for an example, or if you're working on sea, for an example. So there are some specific enterprise agreement where 30 hours is still considered full time. So that's that. Then there is no point. I mean, no problem as such. But otherwise, 35 is generally considered full time, but 30 hours is also advised by the department to be valid for this visa.
And Hariharan is asking Parth that PT core or PT academic, which test he should go for the PR.
Yeah, so PT core is not acceptable by the department, so you don't have a choice but to go with PT academic. So with PT, it's only PT academic which is accepted by the Department of Home Affairs. And apart from that, it's IELTS academic, IELTS general, both
Yeah.
are acceptable. TOEFL, internet-based test, Cambridge Advanced English, and OET. These are the 5 exams accepted by the department. So you'll have to go for any of these. So basically, in your case, it's PT
PT
academic.
academics, yes.
Um, yeah. So basically, these are the things. Just wanted to add one more thing on your 485 scenarios where you were saying that people have so many questions about 485 visas, or so many graduates are going to qualify now. Recently, I've been asked by some of the students saying that we have done, or we are finishing our bachelor's degree soon, and we are from India, for an example. Can we qualify for 3 years of work visa, which is a 485 visa? So basically, with a bachelor's degree, it is not like all the bachelor's degree will qualify for 3 years of work visa. Your bachelor's degree must be honors degree, plus that degree must be in a specific STEM qualification: science, technology, engineering, mathematics, medicine, ICT, information communication technology is also part of the STEM qualifications. Plus the degree, whichever university you have studied, you must have achieved first class. So the degree must be honors with first class. Then only you are eligible for 3 years of work visa. Else, standard
Must.
duration for bachelor's degree is 2 years.
Yes.
Master's degree, if you are doing, then yes, you are eligible for 3 years visa if you are holding passport from India. You are eligible for 5 years of work visa irrespective of your qualification if you're holding passport of UK or Hong Kong.
Okay.
Um,
And just to clarify, Parth, masters, if Indian passport, any masters, right? It doesn't have to be STEM, or it doesn't
Correct.
have to be research degree or anything. As long as you have done masters by coursework as well in any discipline, and if you are Indian passport holder, you can get 3 years of 485 visa, with
Correct.
possibility of extension of 1 or 2 years, depending on if you have studied and lived in regional area during your studies and during your 485 visa as well. There are two categories of the regional postcodes as well. So if you are city centers regional, then one more year of extension, and regional or remote areas postcode, then you can get the 2 years of extension. So that's pretty much on the 485 visa. But yeah, if you are graduating soon and looking to apply for 485 visa and plan your future, make sure that you check. On paper seems like 2 years or 3 years is a long time, but how fast it will go you won't realize, and you'd be at the end where you haven't done much of the points collection or meeting the requirements, and you're stuck in that situation. Since now 485 to, you cannot do visa hopping as well, you can't go back from 485 to student, so it will become make it more complicated as well. So plan your 2 or 3 years of 485 visa accordingly.
Yeah. And on top of that, we would like to make one more announcement. That is, we are having OSIS Conclave 5.0 scheduled in July in different cities. So wherever you're located, please visit and register. So first register and then visit for the conclave happening in your city. We'll be sharing more details in the comment section. For now, I think that's end of the comments. If you still have any questions, you are free and welcome to comment on the platform, and we'll try to answer your queries there. I think
Hussein has
Hossein,
asked one more question, if you can take this.
yeah,
Partner as a secondary applicant, and she didn't come after 6 months of the visa grant of 489. I'm the main applicant, and can I still put her name? 887 still immigration account her visa is active? Yes, you can, but Parth will elaborate more on detail on that. Can you take this part?
Yeah, sure. So basically, yes, you are certainly, I mean, you can add your partner in your application. It's not a requirement that your partner is also meeting the criteria of staying for 2 years in Australia or working for 1 year in Australia. So that's totally fine with that. However, if you would like to apply for 887 visa, the requirement is that you must be in Australia to qualify for the visa. That was the criteria earlier. However, during the COVID period, the government announced saying that you could be anywhere in Australia or overseas. But then again, now that the COVID concession ended, so you will have to call your partner in Australia in order to apply together. 887 can only be applied together. It's not possible for you to apply for 887 for now without including your partner. And then during processing, if you say, I would like to add my partner, it's not possible. So you have two choices to make. First option is you call your partner in Australia, then you apply for 887, you being the primary applicant, she being the secondary applicant. And then whenever department grants the visa, then you basically get your permanent residency. The second option is you apply for your 887 visa for now, get your 887 visa granted, and then you apply for partner visa, separate, different, I mean, total different program itself. So you apply for a partner visa, and then 2 years after she gets permanent residency. So it will be more challenging. I mean, not challenging, but it's going to take longer time. It's going to cost you more. So the best option is to bring her over here and then
I
apply
think
for
I think she
887.
is here based on the comment. I think she is here. His concern maybe is that she didn't come after 6 months of the visa grant. He may have completed 2 years, but the partner 1.5 year only. So I think
Okay.
in that case it should be fine, because as Parth explained that as long as the primary applicant is meeting the criteria and secondary applicant is here while lodging the application together, secondary applicant doesn't need to have 2 years of stay as well. As long as primary applicant has, you can combine and lodge the visa application. Hope that's the scenario or Parth is saying. So both ways, we gave you the answer both ways, and accordingly you can assess your situation.
Yes, now that's the end of the comments. So we'll wrap up, Daksh.
Yeah, for sure. Have a lovely weekend, everyone. Hope you will have good Friday evening. And yeah, any question, you guys can reach out of the any of the nearest Aussie's office. You can book an appointment with a migration agent and get the tailored made answer for your question. These are the general question which we try and cover every week on Friday. But yeah, specifically if you need to know something, so then you can book a consultation and we can most certainly look at your situation and answer accordingly. That's it for our side. Thank you very much. See you soon.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night and good weekend.